We hear a significant deal about the compounding effect, and it is marketed as one of the greatest wonders in our time and era where finances are concerned. And today we're going to be looking at some of the realities behind the idea of the compounding effect. How many times have you watched a financial channel and hear the person on there talking about the compounding effect? How many times have you considered if the compounding effect is truly something that can work for you? Well, we're going to be exploring some of the things that you need to consider, or some of the things that you need to know when you're considering the compounding effects, because these realities will help you to better understand the processes in the background that contributes to compounding. Welcome back to Ira Living. In this video, we're going to be talking about the realities behind the compounding effect. Compounding simply looks at a way in which people gain interest on their investment. And there are two main types of interest earning that we can look at. One of them is simple interest. And what simple interest is that it pays you your interest on a certain amount of money that you have been investing over a period of time. So for example, if you invest £1,000 at a 5% interest and you've invested that over 5 years, what they will do to work this out is they will say 1,000 times 5, which is the years that you're going to be investing it for, and then they times it by the 5%. So that means 1,000 times 5 divided by 100 to be able to work out the interest that you would actually achieve on that investment. That means that at the end of that 5-year period, you would have only gained interest of £250. So altogether in your account, you would have had £1,250 at the end of your 5-year period, considering you haven't added any more principal to that account over that period. Now we're going to look at the scenario as well on the second option, which is using compounding interest. As many people try to explain it, compounding interest is where you are actually being paid interest on top of your interest. And how this works is that we take the same scenario of £1,000 invested. You get paid your 5% interest at the end of the first year. And then that money is now your total principal that you have in the account. So in the second year, you get paid 5% of that new principal that you have. And that happens each year as you go through the cycle to get to the 5-year period. And so when we're working this out, we do our 1,000 and we multiply that by 100% plus that 5% that you have, divided by 100. And then we raise that to the power of how many years you have the money invested. And this is the amount that you would have at the end. In the compounding scenario, your total interest for that 5 years would have been £276.28, which means you would have had a total of £1,276.28 in your bank account, providing you didn't add any more money to it from the 1,000 that you started with. In this comparison of these two scenarios, you've made a difference of £26.28. And this is a small amount of money over a short period of time. Let's look at the scenario again this time with £10,000 at the start over a 10-year period with the same 5% interest yield. Simple interest, we have 10,000 times 5, which is the percentage yield, times the 10 years, and we divide that all by 100 to see how much we gain in terms of interest. And this time the interest comes out to £5,000. That means we now have £15,000 in that account over the 10 years period. When we do the same, but make it compounding instead, the total amount that you have as interest is £6,288.95. This means that altogether in your bank account, you now have £16,288.95. And in this case, you start to see the significant difference that compounding is starting to make. That's a difference of £1,288.95 that you have gained because of compounding. As the time progresses, then this becomes a lot more over time. This brings us to the 3 key fundamental factors when we are considering compounding as a way of ensuring that we're building our portfolio financially. This brings us to the three key fundamental factors that we need to consider when we are using compounding to build our financial portfolio. Firstly, it's the principle that you're going to be investing. So whether this is a one-off amount that you're going to be investing or it's amounts that's going to be continually added to your investment. And then the second factor that we need to consider is the rate of yield that you're getting on your investment. And thirdly, which is the most profound factor to consider, is time. How long is this investment going to be there, gaining the benefits of compounding in order for it to be able to build the portfolio that you are envisaging? If at 16 years old, your parents gives you a savings that they had for you, which amounts to about £10,000, and you decide that you are going to invest that money into an account, you're not going to add anything else to it, you're just going to leave it there. And you're going to leave it there until you're closer to retirement to help towards some of your retirement fund. Then you would leave it for about 45 years from then. If you do that and you do it with simple interest, then the amount of money you will have at the end of that 45-year period is £472,500. Now we're going to look at what would happen if you did this with compounding. If instead of the simple interest option you chose compounding, the amount of money that you would have at the end is £89,850 and 8 pence. Now at this point you will recognize the significant role that time plays in this whole process when you compare simple interest and compound interest, because this is almost double the amount of money that you would have if you had put it on a simple interest investment. It's important to remember that compounding or any form of interest that you're earning is a slow and steady crawl up the mountain. There are three key things that you need to keep in mind when you are ensuring that you're using interest as your way to build out your portfolio. One of them is to start early to get time to work in your favor. The second thing is to pay in regularly where you can to build up a larger principal base on which to grow interest. And thirdly, have a great rate of returns to maximize the amount of interest that you will actually be able to earn. When you're considering investment, you need to explore all the different options. These are three key factors to think about. You either need to think about how much principal you're going to be investing, think about the amount of time period that you're going to invest it for, and also thinking about the amount of interest you're going to be getting to ensure that you're having a good return on that investment. Remember, financial literacy is revolutionary. It has transformed my life, and I believe that it can do the same to yours.